Hi there, I'm Kathy Barker from Software Solutions, and I want to show you how you create ribbon charts in Power BI for desktop. Ribbon charts are really quite good because they give you a lot of information as the ribbon moves, and it's what goes on between the ribbons markers that's the really interesting bit. Okay, let's start in our report first of all by creating a new page. So I'm just going to hit this plus button to put a new page in my report. I need to name this report Top Sales. I also need to add a text box to the top of this report, so I'll go to text box and I'll type Top Sales. I need to press Ctrl A to select all the text and increase the font size to size 18. And then I need to resize this text box so it's a little bit more snug and push it in the top corner. I also need to format the page and make the canvas background lighter or white 10% darker. I need to click about 50% and set the transparency to 50%. Now what I want to do is I want to create a new column in my order details query. So over here in your fields list, there are 3 fields in here: discount, quantity, and unit price. What I'm wanting to do is add a 4th column to that query, which is called total sales, and it grabs the quantity and multiplies it by the unit price. So the easiest way to do it is to right click the table or query and say new column. Then a formula bar will appear and a formula is expected. So I'll call the formula total sales. That's going to be the name of my column. And then I follow that with an equals. If I press a square bracket, all the fields that are hidden or not hidden in that query are shown. And so I'll go down to quantity and I'll press tab. Then I'll press star, which is multiply. I'll press square bracket, which presents me with a list of the fields again in that query. And I'll choose unit price. So the quantity times the unit price is the total sales, and I'll press enter. That is then calculated per row. And you can see here now in our query called fact order details, we have a column called total sales, and it's basically a calculated column. Now I want to use that for my ribbon chart. So I'm just going to click away and click on unit price so I can clearly see my report canvas. Now to add a ribbon chart in our visualizations pane, we go for this visualization, ribbon chart. And I'm just going to move it up and I'm going to move it out, make it nice and big so we can clearly see what's going on here. Okay, now I want to add year to the bottom axis, to the x-axis. So I go to my dim date table and to the bottom of that table and grab year and drop it in my x-axis. So that goes across the bottom. Then I'm going to collapse my dim date table and I will now want to add my total sales to my Y. So total sales comes out of my fact order details query and into the Y-axis bucket. So now I can see the total sales per year. But that looks too much like a column chart. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to add the category name to the legend. So I open up my dim categories and I grab category name and I drop it on legend. Now I have a ribbon chart. So this ribbon chart is basically showing me the flow of sales. Let's look at this one. This one here is dairy. So this is dairy products. Total sales for 2020 was 125,000. It's the flow of sales of dairy products over those 3 years. Now in that middle year, 2020, it was the top product in terms of the number of sales. But in 2019, it was the second most popular. And so when I rest on the ribbon in between the 2 years, this is when the ribbon chart really comes into its own. We're basically saying in 2019 we sold 32,000. In 2020 we sold 125,000. That is a 286% increase. It went from ranking number 2 in 2019 to ranking number 1 in 2020. And so the rank changes, it went up by 1. Whereas if I rest on this middle zone here, it suddenly went down from 2020 to 2021. We went from 125,000 to 93,000, which is a drop of 25%. It went from being number 1 in 2020 to be number 2 in 2021. And so its rank change was by 1 in a downward way. So ribbon charts are really, really good like that. Okay, let's format it a little bit and zhuzh it up a little bit. First of all, I want to turn on data labels. So I'm going to format my visualization and I'm going to turn on the data labels. And that's really helpful. Now, besides turning on my data labels, I don't like the way it goes 0.13 mil. So I'm going to go into data labels and I'm going to go to values and I'm going to change display units to none. That it just displays the units as they are and doesn't do any interference as in standardizing the way the units are displayed. I now want to add a title, so I go to General, expand the title, and in here I type what I want to see, which is basically the title is Flow of Sales by Category over Years. And so that ends up being my title, but I might make it black so it stands out more. And there it is there, Flow of the Category by Years. Now I would like to turn on a zoom slider. And I would like to turn a zoom slider on just for the bottom axis, the x-axis. So I'll close my title, I'll go back to visual, I'll close my data labels, I'll turn on the zoom slider, but I get one for years and I get one for the y-axis as well. If I expand zoom slider, I don't want one for the y-axis, I just want one for the x-axis. So what does a zoom slider do? A zoom slider means I can hone into certain parts of the ribbon chart, or any chart for that matter. You can zoom in horizontally and you could also zoom in vertically. So zoom slider is actually quite cool as well. Now I need another page that shows me a ribbon chart, but I'm only interested in the top 3 categories. So why create the wheel from scratch? I'm going to duplicate this page. Right click top sales, duplicate the page, and I'm going to name it, double click, top 3 sales. I'm going to edit the title, top 3 sales, and now I'm going to put a filter on my ribbon chart. So with the ribbon chart chosen, I'm actually I might turn off the zoom slider too because I think it'll be irrelevant. So I'm going to go to format, zoom slider off. So that's just disappeared, which is great. And now I want to bring up my filters pane. I've got the ribbon chart selected. I'm visualizing, I'm seeing my filters pane and I'm seeing category name. But it's actually the sales that I want to see. Oh no, the category name. Hit the drop down on category name, change it from basic filtering to top N, and I want to see the top 3, and based on the field category name. So I drop that into by value and then I apply the filter. And so I am literally saying just the top 3 categories in terms of the volume of sales and over time. So I really like the top N filter. I might just close that, and that is my top 3 sales, and I can just rest on things and find out what's going on, whereas this is all sales and it's very busy. I'm going to save my Power BI file, and so those are ribbon charts. Come back for the next video and let me show you waterfall charts. Do like or subscribe. Keep it coming. See you soon.